College admissions can be particularly grueling, especially if your dream college or university happens to be in the top ranked ones. Which is why it's always a smart idea to consider speaking to somebody who's already walked the path. My name is Anand Venkatesan. I'm the founder of mentorscapital.com. We are a mentorship, test preparation, and admissions consulting platform. In the series of globetrotting conversations, I speak to some of our past achievers and ask them to recount their journey on how they prepared for the GMAT, applied to various colleges and universities, and aced personal interviews in their own journey.
In today's globetrotting conversation, I speak to Divyaratan Gulati. Divyaratan is an old student of ours, and just to give you a little bit of context about what he's done. Divyaratan went studied at the College of Vocational Studies in BU. Decided to write all exams both in India, MBA entrances both in India and abroad, at GMAT and the CAT. And finally, after a lot of deliberation and a lot of back and forth, he's joined the Indian School of Business, and he's currently in the middle of his program there. Thank you, Divyaratan, for joining me today. I know you're having a really, really hard week, so thanks for making time out today.
No, sir, it's a pleasure.
All right. So, before I get into specific questions, this conversation is actually about, your application journey, right? I mean, from the stage of deciding what to do to actually getting that done, right? So recap maybe your journey in your own words for the audience.
Right. So it all started with just a thought that MBA karna hai and all that. And at that time, itna zyada, it wasn't really a fully thought of decision. It was just like out there that, I have to do an MBA. And I remember first class, I think Abhishek sir had taken the first class, and he asked us all why we wanted to do an MBA. Obviously, out there he was trying to put a logical reasoning point as well, but it made us really think why actually we're there. And after all that, it started, sort of panning out. Things started falling together that okay, this is what I want to do. And then there are certain colleges that are very good here in India, out there abroad, and certain exams you need to give for them. And so aptitude, I had already been with aptitude.
So we call ourselves Mentors Capital now.
Yeah, even like after when I was in my 12th grade, for all those entrances and everything, I had a very good experience with aptitude already, with you and Abhishek sir teaching us. So just it was clear that that's where I have to go, and it was a nice experience over there as well. And then started the prep and the prep for the exam, and obviously the prep for the interviews and all that. So coming to the exam first, it was hard honestly, GMAT, CAT, both those exams. But yeah, a lot of hard work went in, and we managed to get a good score and get a.
Yeah, I think I remember one of the recurring themes in our discussions was always about, can you find time and do justice to your preparation? Because I should tell the viewers that Divyaratan's full-time occupation, I'm sure it stays the same, was actually that of a theatre enthusiast, right? And so a disproportionate amount of time would actually go in behind the curtain, and very little time will actually be poring over books and practicing, and so so I'm sure, these are factors that all people listening in would also be facing in their own individual contexts, right? So I think your journey probably gives them a little bit of confidence that, hey, if this chap and I can say this, I can take the liberty of saying that I think after college, most of your time, most of your energy, most of your intellect actually went into planning out how your theatre club would actually perform well, the plays would go off well and whatnot. Very little, probably at that time at least, about How am I going to crack the cat?
Yeah, it was actually, yeah. But like I also thought that, for a moment, will I even be able to do a good enough preparation for these exams, given there's a tight schedule. I had even joined work, plus I was involved in theater and all. So and those things were like pretty important to me. Not that MBA wasn't, but I didn't want to do it at the cost of all those things. But soon I realized that, okay, some things maybe I'll have to make up some time and all, but it's not that I'll have to leave something completely to prepare for my exams and interviews. It was fairly doable.
Interesting. Well, I'm going to throw the biggest bomb at you straight at the start, right? What I know this is a question you want to answer very soon in job interviews, but what's your career goal? And have has I mean, I'm sure you professed a career goal when you applied to these schools, but has it changed since then?
Uh, the eventual career goal hasn't really changed, but I wouldn't call it a goal, as in it's I want to become an entrepreneur, but
Right.
it's not something that you can just like decide and start doing things, start a business or something. You need to not only learn a lot of things about running a business, but also to have an idea on what kind
So
of
for you, I'm going to have to reword this question. Let's say that on the path to becoming an entrepreneur, you foresee some milestones, some functional areas that you gain expertise and experience in. Have those milestones remained the same, or have they evolved? And what are those milestones?
Right. So remain the same, as I didn't think enough before we actually, got into the prep and all. But yeah, those milestones they have changed a bit for sure. I remember thinking that, to become an entrepreneur, you need to have like a broader vision about things and all. You need to be, the point I'm trying to make it, I thought you'd have to first work in a consultancy firm. You have to become a consultant, and then you have to go there. So that was sort of a goal. And it's not that that doesn't make sense, but like it's not the only way you can
Sure.
become an entrepreneur. And actually, I realized this in one of my like mock interviews only. I think with either you or Abhishek sir, I put this point forward that this is what I want to do. This is my plan, and uh, I think Abhishek sir had asked me to actually look up how many founders of companies have actually worked in consulting firms, and I realized a lot of them hadn't. So that was one thing. But even after joining, meeting a lot of people here, our batch is around 600 students here in the Hyderabad campus, and other 300 in the Mohali campus. So getting to know a lot from them. The milestones have changed a bit, obviously. Currently, I'm looking for a marketing profile, and
Okay.
yeah, so I was heavily involved in marketing at Mamaearth as well when I was working there before ISB,
Right.
and
Right.
uh,
Okay.
yeah.
So marketing is the area that you want to explore. Okay. So you talked about marketing as a career goal. Uh, but talk to me about your college experience, because I mean, uh, to arrive at something like marketing, what kind of experiences in college shaped it? Was it the societies that you were part of? Was it internships that you did? What told you that marketing was your calling and that you'd be good at it?
Okay, so firstly, I had this very a misconception that creativity is marketing or advertising and all, and it's
Mm-hmm.
required there. But I think creativity is required in almost all sorts of roles. But yeah, that was just a bias that I had. But on an interest note, honestly, I really enjoyed right from school and then college. I had a few marketing subjects, so I really enjoyed those subjects. Plus, uh, when we were like actively involved in theater during college, the whole game was about consumer behavior. What kind of content are you sort of creating that will sell in an audience? And when we are doing theater shows, we can't always rely on just our contacts, right? That they're coming to support us. That's not how a business runs if people are just supporting you and taking your product in. So
Correct.
it was a lot about what sort of content people want to watch, what resonates with them enough, because it, like, we had this sort of a truth that people like entertainment. That's why movies work so much, but people don't really turn up for theater shows, etc., etc. And a lot of that journey made me very inclined towards consumer behavior and marketing, and that's why I really enjoyed my tenure at Mamaearth as well, and decided to go for a marketing role.
Okay. So would you say in hindsight that if somebody is wanting to explore marketing as a career later on, would you say go get into theater, try to explore yourself? Is that something that you'd recommend to
I'd
somebody?
say get into theater no matter what you want to do. I think the what it gives
Right.
you is just like it's. I'm sure it will help in any other role. If I would have went ahead and done any other role, the kind of
Okay.
discipline, the kind of anticipation towards how others behave, which is like just true in all sorts of functions, is
Okay.
helpful. But yeah, certainly
Okay.
if somebody wants to do marketing as well, I think it will be really helpful, at least for me to crack my interviews, even at my marketing role, and then at ISB, where I also wanted, like, express my marketing inclination. I think it really helped, not just as a point, but because I knew how it helped me, and it will help me sort of achieve my dreams.
Okay. Okay. So you've decided that marketing is something that interests you, and obviously you must have considered the top IIMs and ISB and other schools of the like. But what prompted you to choose to apply for the Young Leaders Program?
Um, right. So I was firstly wanting to stay in India. That was a preference. So I had only mostly prepared for CAT and the GMAT, also primarily for Indian B schools.
Right.
So lots of options there. IIMs, there's ISB, there's XLRI, MDI, so many options. So the primary goal was to get into a tier one college. And in fact, first attempt for CAT wasn't even that good, because I hadn't prepared well. But after that, I gave the GMAT very early on in the second year itself. Like, from the, like, when I was transitioning from my second year to my third year, and I already had a very good GMAT score. And I know, unrelated, but like, for whoever was watching, I think that's a very good way to prepare for your GMAT, if you're considering for a YLP program, to just like do it as early as possible. The score is valid for 5 years, and you're in that studying zone during your college, so it's just
Correct.
easier to be in that mindset. So
Correct.
yeah, I had a good GMAT score already, and ISB is one of India's best colleges. So I decided to apply there, and another good thing about this was that basically it's the admission process, the timelines of the admission process are not really very running in parallel with a lot of other colleges, that you have a lot to think about. It's when ISB is happening, March, April mein pehla essay round hota hai, then there's an interview in October. So it's not that a lot of things are going on, so it's easier to prepare and do
Okay.
all that.
Okay.
So yeah, that I think it made quite a lot of sense to do that. And then
Okay. Okay.
uh,
Let's talk about GMAT preparation because I mean, you just mentioned one of the biggest factors was you getting a good GMAT score.
right.
But how much effort went behind it, right? When did you start? How long did it take?
Honestly, so a lot of effort. I, as we've already established, I was very busy doing a lot of theater in college. But
Mhm.
thankfully, during that gap, when you transition from your second year to your third year, there's around a 2-3 month window where new students are yet to come into your college. Some
Mm.
have passed
Mm.
out. So not a lot of actual work, theater rehearsals, etc., etc., going on. Just some back end work which you can manage. So that's the time I decided to prepare heavily. Although I was enrolled much earlier, but that's the time I decided to prepare heavily. And honestly, I believe it's different for everyone. How much time you need to invest, how much how hard you need to work, basis where you already are. But so I, in those 1.5 months, I think I studied a lot. uh, Almost every day I used to put in 6-7 hours. a very good thing that we used to do at aptitude was basically, we were asked to take
Keep
mocks
saying
very.
institute.
Oh, sorry.
We,
Oh,
we, we now call we're now called mentors capital. I
that's
just,
okay.
just
Yeah,
wanted to put
sorry,
it out there.
The terminology is changed now.
The brand has changed. You're a marketing you're a marketer, man.
Yeah, right.
So it's just an umbrella brand that we have now called Mentors Capital.
Got it. Got it. Right.
Sorry, go on.
So yeah, so what we were doing there was we were asked to take a lot of mocks,
That's
and it was actually I didn't know that the mocks, you need to take mocks along with your preparation, and not prepare for mocks. Ki pehle pura we'll study and then we'll take mocks and all that. So that was a
well,
new
it's
thing.
one of those. One of our favorite statements is to say, prepare with mocks, not prepare for mocks.
Exactly. So that mindset really helped, because mocks were like, I realized mocks are for preparation. You don't prepare to feel good that okay, I prepared, now I scored this much in mocks. Even if you're scoring less in mocks, it's a win-win only. Eventually, gradually, you have to improve yourself and then take the exam again. And I think the mocks also we took were pretty heavy. So I decided to go for the Manhattan mocks, because the weaker area for me in GMAT was verbal and English. So quants, I was still pretty fine, and Manhattan mocks were very heavy on the English part. So
Okay.
went ahead with that. And so yeah, but answering your question, a lot of preparation, a lot of giving at least one mock every 2 mocks a week probably, and just along with your regular preparation, analyzing what is going wrong in mocks. What is there a pattern of making mistakes? Is there a particular area where you're sort of not able to crack the code, and working hard on that. I remember Amy and I used to study together, and we used to come to you every weekend with all our problems throughout the week, which we had like sort of noted down. So yeah, it was a lot of hard work, but like yeah, 1.5 months of full on hard work went in, and I think that sort of did the job.
Got it. And you mentioned mock tests. How many mocks did you take? I know you said 2 a week, but in total, you know, 10, 15?
Yeah, around 10-15, I think.
All right. All right. Okay, let's talk about the application, right? Because the GMAT, in fact, I do have one other question about the exam. Um, which was, you know, a particular type of problem that troubled you the most on the GMAT? I know you said verbal was an area that you wanted to focus on, that you wanted to improve the most, but
Right.
anything a little more granular than that, anything specific within verbal that troubled you more?
Within verbal, I think reading comprehensions, and those two of a certain type. So there are some topics that come that already interest you. So it's
True.
your luck, obviously, what you don't know what's going to come. But the topics that already interest you, obviously you have to train yourself to read all comprehensions very efficiently. But still, the topics that interest you actually help you out. But there were a lot of these space related, history related, and philosophy related passages that just would bother me a lot. So I couldn't I had to read them again and again and again to like sort of get what
Okay.
is going on. Something that helped me over there was this approach that so again, Abhishek sir used to tell us that the English part is important, but like go with the logic, the flow. What is where? What is the passage trying to tell you? Uh, uh, for example, the first paragraph is just talking about these 2-3 things, setting up a context for the other paragraph. Then maybe they're explaining something in detail and all that. You don't need to know the details. You just at least go through the flow of the whole passage, and then read the answer, read the questions, and then you'll know at least where I need to find the answer for this, and then take another look at it and then solve. So it sort of helped me a lot with the passages that I wasn't comfortable with.
Okay.
Yeah, that's verbal. And although quants was fine, but numbers was something that I wasn't very comfortable with. Numbers and algebra, things like that.
If I had to make a guess for you, I'd say silly mistakes was the toughest thing for you.
Yeah, that's that's always there. I thought, yeah, I'll just highlight a topic.
Right. All right. Let's change track slightly. We've talked about the test and how much obviously work that you put into it. But let's talk about the application also, right? I know it's a very phased out sort of process, and you have plenty of time. But uh, how long did the application take? The building up the ISP application, the essays, the LORs, the other stuff that goes in there.
So it actually did take a lot of time. I think around a month for the first round. The dates were released, and we were sort of, yeah, the deadline was in a month or something, and it did take a lot of time because uh, so you were continuously working on your application. You were framing an SOP. So there was an SOP. There was a topic of an essay that you had to write something on that, and slowly realizing that it's not writing like verbal skills. It's how you think. It's your cognitive approach, how you structure your arguments and whatever you're writing. A very important part was the SOP on why you want to do an MBA, and that too particularly from ISB.
Hmm.
Making those connections, whether how it aligns with your career goals, how MBA is a good and a viable option for you to reach there. Maybe there are 2-3 ways to reach your career goal, and MBA is the fastest probably, or it has a competitive edge basically over others. So yeah, a lot of time went on, but ultimately it was also not just for the application, for you yourself to know why you actually also want to sort of do an MBA. It was like a pretty yeah, good.
But could you quantify how long? You said a lot of time. Was it a month? Was it a couple of months?
I think a month and a half, around that time, for the
Okay.
first
So
round at least.
okay, fair enough. And looking back now that we have the luxury of hindsight, what in your application do you think really improved your chances of selection? Because you obviously got the admit and you're currently studying, but what do you think would you attribute as the one factor that helped you achieve this, get
Uh,
it?
so okay, so are you asking aspects inside that, or
Yeah, I mean, look at your ISB application and in entirety, right? So your academics, there's stuff you've done in college, and then your work experience and the GMAT score. But all of these are important, but one must have stood out, right? So do you believe something stood out?
I believe
And if so, what?
yeah, I believe it would be theater for me again, because my academics were decent. I wasn't a bad student, but I wasn't even amongst the topmost graders in my class. Work experience hadn't really started, at least for the first round. It was so not much to write over there. Plus, I had not really done any internships either. So it was mostly about theater, and how what I do over there connects with what I want to do, and how it has helped me, how all things fall into place together.
Mm.
So
Mm.
that was one thing. And obviously then, yeah, going forward, I remember my interview round. So by the time you get shortlisted and you go for the interview, you've already worked for at least 4 or 5 months after your third year. Then I remember there was not really much questions around theater. They'd already seen a lot of it in my application in my previous rounds and all. So most of the interview was about work. And over there again, I think uh, something that might have stood out was how you're putting your answers in a way that you're not just like given a task and you're working there. How you're how there's a situation at hand, and how you're trying to assess what's the best way to solve a particular problem, and then you're solving it. It's again about how you think, how you structure your answers, etc.
Okay, okay, sure. So what you're telling us is that in the personal interview, later rounds, uh, it became more of situation-based sort of
Correct.
assessment.
Correct.
Earlier rounds were probably more about your background and what you've done in the past,
Right.
right?
Right.
But this is intriguing. It's in fact a question I wanted to ask, right? I know that the typical B school interview is not really, it's not really structured. There's no, boxes that you need to tick in terms of questions and answers. But what was your interview like? Like what was discussed? What was talked about? If anything that you can remember from that time.
Right. So I'll try to remember as much. So firstly, a lot of time was spent over my work experience, and that too. So you have to submit a resume before you go to the interview. So you've already mentioned a lot about your work experience over there. So
Hmm.
they do ask some questions from that as well. But again, they want to see what you've put versus what your takeaways from your work are, how you're going to sort of apply those whatever you learned or whatever you've been working on later on in life, and how it aligns with your overall aspiration and things like that. So a lot of time was spent on that, and then apart from that, a lot of time was also spent on, yeah, finally, on my career goals, on where you want to be later, and how this program from this particular college is going to help you reach there.
Okay.
And I remember when I said I want to become an entrepreneur, I was asked a question on, just, we know that you might not have decided exactly what you want to venture in, but what
Do you
sort of
have any ideas?
just any ideas over there. And again, although I hadn't thought of it earlier, I made this on the spot. But I thought, if I have to make up an idea right now, it has to be around theater, because cross questionings, etc., etc., I'll be able to handle better. Plus,
Correct.
I've had some experience, having a theater group, doing commercial shows, etc., etc. So I sort of thought I'd
It's the
give
classic strategy of pulling the interview into an area where you're most comfortable with.
exactly. So that was the point, and I just randomly I asked for like a minute, obviously, because I told them I want to, like, just give it 30-40 seconds, think a bit, and then tell them. So I thought, why not sort of create a LinkedIn sort of a platform for artists who want to audition. And because I had seen that problem, there's a lot of talent, good talent, who can't get there because of lack of resources. You can't really reach an audition stage. So if there's a platform for even people who are looking for actors, for directors, and a common platform where people are giving auditions, so just something that came up to my mind, I said it, and I think that went well.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. Um, all right. I think we understand, what's happened in the process, what's worked for you, and how do students prepare in their own individual contexts. But outside of what we've discussed, any parting word of advice to the students watching this video?
Okay, so at least for the ones who are still in college, preparing for their exams, want to do an MBA after college or study abroad, I think it's the best time to start now, because we might feel there's a lot of time left and we can do it later, etc., etc. But when you're in that mode of studying, I think it really helped me taking the GMAT very early on.
Hmm.
It just, rids you from a lot of pressure later on when you're working, when you're doing 10 other things and you have to manage.
Okay.
Still
Okay.
manageable. It's not that it's not manageable, but it's just better if you sort of do it
Start early.
earlier. And then again, that classic line, prepare with mocks, not for them. I think they're very important, more than how much time I've spent in books and in solutions over there. I think I've just spent in mock solutions. After taking a mock, you used to spend around 3-4 more hours just to see, what went wrong, especially in, like, for example, sentence correction. We were always told the other three options that are wrong are more important. You need to know why they are wrong, not just why your option is right. So, because there are rules and things like that. So, yeah, just spend a lot of time on mocks, and I think at least the paper will be sorted from there, and really give it
Okay.
a thought
Okay.
why you want to pursue a particular course. And I think if it aligns with the goals that you have, I think the interview should be very sorted.
Interesting. Uh, I think most of the things you're saying are things that I would say to a student as well, right? So perfect on I think perfectly in agreement with you on each of those priorities that you're kind of setting, right? I think it's important to start early. It's important to have a good process for preparation, and it's also important to have the right motivation to get into a program, right? And to understand why you're getting into that. So thank you for thank you for that lovely piece of advice. Um, but just before we sort of bring this to a close, uh, I know you've been talking about mentors capital. You keep calling us aptitude, but let's say I again ask you in very crisp terms. What about the mentors capital experience for you really stood out?
Um, I think a purpose driven approach, maybe I would say, like
Okay.
we didn't just prepare for exams over there, that we have to crack an exam, or it's more about the brand change as well. I think mentoring is what happens over here, not just exam prep, that you crack something and then it's actually what you want to do in life and what is the best way to achieve that. I remember, I don't know if we still have that, but when I used to study, we also had a refund policy or something, that if you realize, if you come here, you think you don't want to do an MBA, if it's not making sense to you, just like it's fine. It's not about uh, that. So I think, yeah, the purpose driven approach, what you want
I
to do
wonder
is,
if I'm going to lose customers.
huh?
I said, I wonder if I'm going to lose students because of that.
I don't think you will, but yeah, because the purpose driven approach, I'd say again,
Okay.
we focus there a lot on what is the end goal and how do we get there and what are the different ways we can get there, and
You never ever get
then
there, right? I mean, it's always a journey towards getting there. So,
exactly, yeah, towards it.
absolutely. And if I were to ask you to make it even shorter than say, use one word to describe mentors capital, what would that word be?
That's tough. I I I think guidance is what I would say.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The right
Okay.
guidance, not one word, but yeah, the right
Yeah,
guidance.
phrase, the right guidance. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Okay. I think if you hear this interview, I think you'd understand why that word sort of rings true to you. But nonetheless, I mean, it's wonderful to connect back with you Divyaratan, and I wish you the very best in life, and thank you a lot for the kind words that you've given, and hope that viewers listening in take your advice seriously, and indeed imbibe some of the thoughts, some of the words that you conveyed to them. Right. All the best, and do continue to stay in touch with us.